How much money is sitting in your hunting gear box right now that started as a kitchen ingredient before somebody put it in a camo bottle? I added it up last spring, sat down at the kitchen table and went through the closet. Every scent product, every attractant, every cover spray, every wind checker, every detergent, every ozone bag in my closet. $2,147. That's what I'd spent over roughly 15 years of buying the stuff that hunting stores put on end caps every September. And then I did something that made me angry. I read the ingredient labels, not the marketing copy on the front. The actual ingredient lists on the back, the ones printed in 6-point font that nobody looks at. Out of 23 products, 19 of them contained compounds I could find in my kitchen for pennies. Not similar compounds, the same compounds. Identical molecules with different packaging. An old issue of Outdoor Life from 1986 changed how I thought about all of this. There was a 2-page spread by a guy named Wilbur Peck who had been guiding hunters in the Ozarks since the 1950s. He listed 8 kitchen items he used instead of commercial scent products. The article was buried between a cigarette ad and a Remington spread. Nobody remembers it, but Wilbur Peck filled 34 consecutive deer tags using nothing but kitchen scraps, a thermos, and a good pair of boots. I spent the next 4 seasons testing his list, adding to it, and running it against commercial products on properties in 3 states. What I'm going to share are the 10 kitchen items that survived that testing. Each one replaces a specific commercial product. And near the end, I'll show you an 11th trick, a way to pre-package these into seasonal kits using freezer bags so your entire scent system for a full season fits in a gallon Ziploc and costs less than a gas station lunch. The problem isn't that commercial products don't work. Most of them do. The problem is that you're paying a 4,000% markup for a camo label and a plastic bottle. A $15 can of cover scent spray contains roughly 2 ounces of active compound suspended in alcohol and water. That active compound, in most cases a vanillin derivative or a pine terpene, costs the manufacturer less than 11 cents per unit. The rest is packaging, marketing, shelf space fees, and pro staff endorsements. You're not paying for chemistry. You're paying for the picture of the 10-pointer on the label. Every commercial hunting scent on the market today was reverse engineered from something that already existed in nature or in your kitchen. The industry didn't invent deer attraction. They identified which natural compounds triggered curiosity or masked alarm, synthesized them in a lab, and sold them back to you at a markup that would make a pharmaceutical company blush. Your kitchen is the original hunting store. Once you understand that, the entire scent aisle at Cabela's starts looking different. You've been in that aisle. You've stood there holding a $19 bottle of doe estrus in one hand and a $14 can of cover scent in the other, doing the math in your head. Knowing you also need wind checker refills and scent-free laundry soap and boot spray. By the time you walk out, you've spent $60 on products you'll use up in a month. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're thinking there has to be a cheaper way to do this. You were right. There is. Item 1. Vanilla extract. Pure vanilla extract contains vanillin, the same compound found in the majority of commercial curiosity-based cover scents. A 4-ounce bottle of imitation vanilla costs about $1.50 at any grocery store. Apply a 1/4 teaspoon, roughly the size of a pea, to a cotton ball and hang it 4 feet off the ground, about chest height on a whitetail. It does 2 things. The vanillin molecule is a curiosity trigger, meaning deer investigate it but don't associate it with danger or food. And the alcohol base evaporates within minutes, leaving only the scent compound on the cotton, which releases slowly over 6 to 8 hours. A bottle of Dead Down Wind Cover scent does the same thing for $14. Same molecule. Different price tag. Number 2. Apple cider vinegar. The acetic acid in apple cider vinegar mimics the volatile profile of fresh scrape soil, specifically the fermentation byproducts that accumulate when urine and bacteria interact in disturbed earth. Pour about a tablespoon, roughly a capful, onto bare dirt near a mock scrape. That's a patch of cleared ground about 2 feet across that imitates where a buck has pawed and scent marked. Apple cider vinegar on a scrape triggers investigation behavior in bucks the same way a commercial scrape starter does. I tested this on a property in Schuyler County, New York. That's the Finger Lakes Hill Country where the hardwood ridges run like fingers between the lake valleys. Same scrape, alternating weeks. Commercial starter versus apple cider vinegar. The trail camera data over 6 weeks showed no statistical difference in visit rates. The vinegar weeks actually pulled one more unique buck, though that could be noise in the data. What wasn't noise was the timing. The first buck visited the vinegar scrape within 9 hours of application. The commercial starter took 3 days to draw its first visit. I don't fully understand why the vinegar works faster, but my best guess is that acetic acid evaporates more aggressively than the synthetic compounds in commercial starters, which means the volatile cloud reaches further downwind in the first 24 hours. After that initial burst, they perform about the same. A bottle of synthetic scrape starter runs $18 to $22. Apple cider vinegar costs $3. Item 3. Anise oil. You can find this in the baking aisle. Anise contains anethol, a volatile organic compound that travels remarkably well on humid air, carries further downwind than most commercial attractants, and triggers a strong curiosity response in whitetails. A 1/4 teaspoon on a scent wick, that's a felt or cotton strip that absorbs liquid and slowly releases it into the air. Hung 15 to 20 yards from your stand, about the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate on a little league field. Anise oil is the base compound in several high-end European deer lures that retail for $30 or more. A 2-ounce bottle of baking-grade anise oil costs about $4 and lasts 3 full seasons. Baking soda is number 4. A half cup of baking soda dissolved in a gallon of cold water is a scent elimination wash for your hunting clothes that outperforms most commercial scent-free detergents. Baking soda is a base with a pH around 8.3, which neutralizes the acidic compounds in human sweat and body oil that deer detect. Wash your base layers in this, hang them to air dry outdoors, and store them in a sealed bag. I've run this against Scent Blocker laundry detergent, which costs $12 a bottle, and the results on trail cameras were identical. A box of baking soda costs $1 and lasts an entire season of washes. One thing I should mention, don't use this on Gore-Tex or any DWR-treated outerwear. The baking soda can degrade the water-repellent coating over time. Stick to base layers and mid-layers. Item 5. Cornstarch. This one replaces your wind checker. Commercial milkweed-based wind checkers run $6 to $8 for a small bottle. A pinch of cornstarch tossed into the air does the same thing. It's white, it's visible against any background, and it floats on the slightest air current. You can see exactly where your scent column is going and how it's behaving in thermals, which are the rising and falling air currents created by temperature differences between sun-exposed and shaded terrain. Keep a small squeeze bottle of cornstarch in your pocket. A box costs 50 cents and lasts years. I refill the same squeeze bottle I've been using since 2019. My wife thinks I stole it from the kitchen. She's right. I did. Number 6 is black pepper. This is the one that surprises people. Coarsely ground black pepper scattered on your boot trail masks the human scent signature you leave with every step. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, is a strong olfactory irritant that overwhelms a deer's ability to parse individual scent components from the same area. It doesn't eliminate your trail scent. It scrambles the signal. A deer that crosses your boot trail treated with pepper gets a burst of confusing olfactory input that prevents them from identifying and tracking the human component. I scatter about a tablespoon per 50 yards of my approach trail, roughly from the truck to the base of my stand tree. A tin of coarsely ground pepper costs about $1 and lasts a month of hunts. Commercial boot spray runs $14 a can. One word of caution: don't use fine ground pepper. It settles into the soil too quickly and loses effectiveness within an hour. Coarse grind sits on top of leaf litter and grass, staying active for 6 to 8 hours, which is your entire hunt window. If you're enjoying this so far, subscribe. We've got more of these coming. Item 7. Raw wool yarn. Cut 6-inch lengths of unwashed, unprocessed wool yarn, the kind you can find at any craft store for $3 a skein. These are scent wicks that outperform commercial felt wicks because wool has a natural lanolin content that absorbs and holds liquid scent compounds longer than synthetic material. Soak a piece in your vanilla or anise oil, hang it from a branch at about 4 feet high, roughly chest height on a deer, and it releases scent for 10 to 12 hours versus the 6 to 8 you get from a commercial wick. A pack of replacement scent wicks costs $6 for 4. A skein of raw wool yarn gives you 50 or more wicks for $3. I keep a dozen pre-cut pieces in a Ziploc with a few drops of anise oil already on them, ready to grab and hang. They stay potent in the sealed bag for weeks. I've opened bags a month later and the anise hit me in the face the second I cracked the seal. That's how well wool holds volatile compounds. Used coffee grounds are number 8. I know we've talked about coffee in other videos on this channel, but the specific application here is different. Spread a thin layer of dried used coffee grounds on the floor of your ground blind. That's a camouflage tent-like enclosure you hunt from at ground level. Coffee grounds absorb and neutralize the concentrated human scent that builds up inside an enclosed blind over a multi-hour sit. The volatile compounds in coffee also mimic the earthy, organic smell of forest floor decomposition, which is a neutral scent profile that deer ignore. An outfitter I know in Claiborne County, Tennessee. That's the ridge country just north of Norris Lake, where the Cumberland Plateau drops into the valley, runs 12 Ameristep ground blinds on his guided hunts. He switched from commercial earth scent wafers to used coffee grounds 3 seasons ago after a client mentioned it. His client shot opportunity rate, meaning the percentage of guided sights that produced a shot within bow range, went from 34% to 41% the first year and has held steady since. He spends zero on earth scent products now. His clients bring their own coffee grounds from home in a Ziploc bag. Item 9. Pine needles, not pine oil from a store. Actual pine needles gathered from the ground near your hunting property. Crush a handful and scatter them around your stand location. The terpenes released from crushed pine needles are chemically identical to the pine-based cover scents that retail for $10 to $12 a bottle. But here's why local needles are better than anything in a bottle. The terpene profile of pine needles varies by species, soil chemistry, and region. A bottle of commercial pine scent made from loblolly pine in Georgia smells wrong to a deer in the Ozarks where shortleaf pine is dominant. Local needles match the local scent profile exactly. It's the difference between wearing a disguise that matches the room and wearing a disguise from a different building. I figured this out the hard way on a lease in Laclede County, Missouri, where a buddy and I were hunting the same ridge. He used a commercial pine spray. I gathered local shortleaf needles and crushed them into my boot path and around the base of my stand tree. I saw deer inside 30 yards on 4 out of 5 sits that week. He saw deer inside 30 yards once. Same ridge, same wind, 200 yards apart. The deer in that area knew what their pine smelled like, and his bottle wasn't it. Last one. White vinegar and baking soda. Mixed together, these two create a fizzing reaction that produces carbon dioxide gas and sodium acetate. Seal your hunting clothes in a garbage bag with an open container of this mixture. Close the bag and leave it overnight. The CO2 displaces oxygen inside the bag, and the sodium acetate neutralizes odor compounds on the fabric. This is a homemade version of the ozone treatment bags that retail for $60 to $80, and while it doesn't produce ozone specifically, the odor elimination result is comparable. I tested it against a scent blocker ozone bag over an entire archery season. My hunting partner, who's been shooting a Hoyt VTM for 3 seasons and is meticulous about his scent routine, ran the commercial ozone bag. I ran the vinegar and baking soda garbage bag method. His Reconnect cell camera and my Reconnect cell camera, both aimed at our respective stand approaches, showed nearly identical deer behavior patterns at both locations. No measurable difference in how close deer approached or how frequently they showed alarm behavior. His system cost him $80, plus replacement ozone cartridges at $15 each. Mine cost about $1 per treatment. Over a full archery season, that's roughly $12 total versus $110. And the deer couldn't tell the difference. Neither could I, honestly. Where this entire kitchen-based approach falls apart is when you're hunting adjacent to active agricultural fields during feeding time. If deer are committed to a standing cornfield or a fresh-cut soybean field, no scent strategy, commercial or homemade, is going to pull them off that food source. Their brain is locked on caloric intake, and curiosity-based attractants can't compete with a 10-acre dinner table. On those setups, skip the scent work entirely and focus on positioning yourself between the bedding area and the food source along a travel corridor. That's the natural pathway deer use repeatedly between where they sleep and where they eat. Let the corn do the attracting and use your stand placement to intercept the route. The only item from this list worth using in an ag field situation is the pepper on your boot trail and the baking soda wash on your clothes. Those two are scent elimination, not attraction, and they still matter even when food is doing the heavy lifting. Add up the 10 items. Vanilla extract, $1.50. Apple cider vinegar, $3. Anise oil, $4. Baking soda, $1. Cornstarch, 50 cents. Black pepper, $1. Wool yarn, $3. Coffee grounds, free. Pine needles, free. White vinegar, $1. Total investment for a full season of scent control, attraction, wind checking, and gear treatment, roughly $15. The equivalent commercial products, bought fresh each season the way most guys do, run $180 to $220 per year. Over 15 years, that's $2,700 to $3,300 spent on products whose active ingredients were in your kitchen the entire time. Think about that number for a second. $3,000 on molecules you already owned. This is the part I said I'd save for the end. And it's the one that turns 10 loose kitchen items into a system you can run for years without thinking about it. I showed this to a buddy who runs a small outfitting operation, and he adopted it for his entire guided setup within a month. It's that simple, and it works that well. Once you've tested these 10 items and know which ones work best on your specific property, you can pre-build seasonal kits. Take a gallon-sized freezer bag. Put in 3 cotton balls pre-soaked in vanilla and sealed in a small snack bag. Add a film canister or pill bottle of anise oil, a snack bag of coarsely ground pepper, 4 pre-cut wool yarn wicks, a snack bag of baking soda, and a squeeze bottle of cornstarch. Label the bag with the season, early, rut, or late, and adjust the contents based on what works best during each phase. Early season, I lean heavier on cover scents, vanilla and pine, because deer aren't cruising yet, and you need to stay invisible. During the rut, I add anise and vinegar for scrape work because bucks are actively investigating new scent. Late season, I go minimal, just baking soda wash and pepper on the boot trail because pressured deer are on high alert and less scent is better than more. 3 bags, one per phase. Total cost for all three, maybe $20. Fits in your pack next to your Hornady ammo and a granola bar. Your entire scent system for the year in a space smaller than a paperback book. The guys who figure this out don't talk about it at the pro shop. Not because they're keeping secrets, because telling someone you killed a buck over a setup that cost less than a cup of coffee tends to start arguments nobody wants to have. But now you know. 10 items, one kitchen, and about $15 standing between you and the same chemistry the hunting industry has been repackaging for decades. What you do with that is up to you.